Dr. Sunny Ware is a web security architect and penetration tester. She provides secure coding classes, creates software, and performs penetration testing against web, API, and mobile applications. She has more than 25 years of hands-on software programming, architecture, and security experience, and holds a Doctor of Science in cybersecurity. She is a published author, Burp Suite Cookbook, first and second edition, developer of mobile apps, and is a content creator on courses related to web security and penetration testing. She regularly speaks and holds classes at security conferences such as DEF CON, Hackfest, and besides. Here is Sunny Ware, Attack of the Clones, How AI Can Boost Your API Security.
You did a great, nice job. Thank you. Okay, thank you for sticking around. So, you guys are awesome. So I want to talk to you today about Attack of the Clones, how you can use AI to boost your API security. There we go. Of course, already did the introduction. Anybody that gets a book, if you need me to sign it, let me know. Even after this, we do OWASP events and things like that. So, all right. APIs, the new hotness. They're everywhere. I love the web app. Like, she's really giving him the look. But yeah, they're everywhere, and so that makes for great target practice. So in this talk, I want to talk about 3 objectives. First, we're going to look at some of the deadliest API attacks occurring today. Secondly, I want to talk to the attackers out there about how they can use AI to identify areas of attack surface in API endpoints. And then last is for the defenders out there. How can they use AI to improve the security posture of their APIs? So let's get into the first objective. When we talk about deadly attacks, what is it that we're talking about exactly? Well, this brings us right to the OWASP top 10 for API security. Now, we're not going to have time today to go through each one of these, but I do want you to focus on the very first one, broken object level authorization, so otherwise known as BOLA. We're going to get into the details of that in just a moment. So this one, we have a very simple example to help grasp the concept. So you can see here with an authorized user, if there is an exposed, in this case, digit that may be seen in the query string of the URL, you just change the number of your store. In this case, say you're the authenticated user, your store is 1, you change it to store 2, and now you can see the details of a completely different store owner. Very bad. Let's look at an actual bug bounty that was submitted. So I'm not revealing who the company is, but basically the authenticated user went to print their statement, their bank statement, and noticed that there was a very easily guessable ID for their account. So they changed that account number to a different digit, and voila, they could see bank statements of a completely different user. Very bad. So that kind of gives you the principle of what this vulnerability is all about. So, I'm speaking now to all those penetration testers, bug bounty hunters, red teamers in the room. How can you use AI to basically identify attack surface areas in API endpoints? Well, let's talk about it. However, before we get into the brass tacks, you really need to kind of go through a methodology of how you're going to approach AI. So you need to start with something very, very specific that you're going to ask, and think about that question as narrowly as you possibly can. You're going to get some feedback in step number 2 from the AI. You're going to need to massage your question down more in order to meet your objective. Number 3, you might be able to provide more specifics around what it is that you're attacking, such as uploading a file, which I'm going to demo very soon, or giving a direct URL, etc., or code snippet, what have you. And then, of course, number 4 is the rinse and repeat. So the tool that we're going to look at for attacking is ChatGPT, but a particular one. So I'm going to be showing you the Hacking APIs GPT. This particular instance of ChatGPT was written by Corey Ball. He is the author of Hacking APIs by No Starch Press. ChatGPT is subscription-based if you're not already aware. So here's the first of 4 demos. So these 4 demos, I start you off with sort of some easy things like a word list, and we're going to give the AI an API endpoint that's available on the internet, followed by, we'll go to HTTP bin, which is a website that has lots of endpoints. We'll look at a couple of those. Then I'm going to show you how you can feed the ChatGPT your Postman collection, and basically have it tell you what you should be hacking on. And then the JSON web token analysis, where you feed it a JOT, and it can tell you different areas that you should be looking in the JOT. Okay, so now comes the demo part. So we've had some technical difficulties with 2 of my videos. But because I've done a lot of talks before and had things not work right, I have some screenshots of the first video. So bear with me for just a moment because I put it at the end of the slideshow. Okay, so the video for the first demo isn't working, but this is what we ask, what the prompt is to the AI is we type in, provide a list of payloads that I can use to fuzz API parameters. Pretty standard thing that you might ask. AI is going to produce for you a very long list that you can then copy and feed that into your burp intruder or what have you, or FUF or whatever you might be using. The second demo is where we take a publicly accessible API endpoint and we feed that directly to the AI and we say, yeah, what parameter in here should I fuzz, in order to abuse it? And so the AI, the answer is much, much longer than what's shown on the screen, but you get the general idea, right? Where we have, you can look for IDOR, insecure direct object reference, SQL injection, etc. Okay, so the next demo, which is demo 2, you'll get to watch. So I'm just going to grab, you can see this website's got lots of API endpoints that you can play around with. I'm just going to grab this one for a user agent. I just grabbed the curl. We're going to feed that right directly to the API. So I'm typing at the bottom of the screen. And by the way, I don't feed any of my content to train the AI, if any of you were wondering. I don't want to put it in the collective hive. So basically, I just said, hey, AI, look at this endpoint and tell me what's vulnerable. And I just pasted that curl right in there. And then what you can see is the output. First, AI will describe what it's looking at. And it recognizes that it's actually a publicly accessible API endpoint. And then if you'll notice, it's got specifics for where in the OWASP top 10 are the places where vulnerabilities will occur. So you can see all the sensitive data exposure, access control, SSRF, and now we've moved on to the to the next endpoint. But you get the idea, where you can directly feed information to the chat GPT in order to get some information back. Now, if you might be thinking, well, what do I do with some of this information? Because some of this information is boilerplate. And where you would go is, thinking back the methodology that I was talking about, is you would refine your questions from there. So let's say it says something about security misconfiguration. Well, then you could go into more detailed questions against your endpoint about security. Okay, what kind of security misconfigurations? Well, what about same site attribute? You can go into more depth in that way. So these are just more areas that it's showing here. Okay, so we'll move on now to, you can see it says here, given the nature of the endpoint as part of a public API testing service, it's designed to demonstrate how cookies, it understands pretty much what it's looking at. But I did give this thing some testing of myself. Like, I purposefully put some Easter eggs in there to see what it would do. So I'm going to flip back to the, thank you. Nice job there. Okay, so demo 3, unfortunately, the video is not working, so I'll just show you the screenshots. But the idea here is, you can see at the very top, I fed it my Postman collection for cryptocurrency that I wrote. And then it spits out each of the endpoints that I wrote in my collection, and gives me information about the areas of each endpoint that I should be looking at for possible vulnerabilities. And I think I'm just going to do this one with the screenshots. It's okay. So then the last demo that I have for you is looking at JSON web tokens. So I purposefully created a JOT that had a very long expiration policy, because I wanted to see if, the chat GPT would pick up on that. It goes through and kind of explains that it understands. Well, you can see my prompt at the top. I said, read this JOT and tell me what's vulnerable. And then I pasted it in there. And it came back with a bunch of basically good information, but it never said anything about my long expiration policy. So I put it in there for like 5 days. So it kind of goes along with the same thing you've been hearing about. Make sure that you always verify the things that you're reading. Okay, let me go back in my presentation. Okay, so this leads us to the third objective, which this part of the presentation is designed for the defenders out there, those developers that write APIs. So if you're familiar with Postman, there's a new feature inside of Postman called PostBot. PostBot is a generative AI assistant. And what it can do is it can generate for you contextually based test scripts from your endpoints that it reads in the collection. And there's the little icon for it, it looks like a little helmet, like a little spaceman helmet. And it'll be at the top, and it's also at the bottom footer inside of Postman. So the idea here is to use PostBot, but have it with an OWASP twist. And what this means is we could take known test cases from OWASP and change the prompts slightly in order to conform to testing some sort of vulnerability. So here you can see this example prompt down here. Add a test that injects a tick at the end of the query parameter. Fail this test if the response status is not 200. So the idea is that you're trying to put into early in the SDLC more regression testing around security, so that developers will be looking for this stuff way before it gets penetration tested. So this is the last demo that I have for you. This basically goes through building some prompts in PostBot for addressing BOLA. So can we have the fifth demo, please? It's not working? No? Okay. All right. Well, then we'll look at the screenshots. Okay. Not a problem. Okay. So demo 5. All right. So the first part of the demo just sort of gives you an idea that this particular endpoint has a BOLA problem, or IDOR, if you want to refer to it as IDOR. When you change the numbers, it shows different people's information. So what we want to do is we want to focus on a particular user, which is actually the number 4, which I don't know if I made a screenshot of it, but the person at number 4 is Jim Halp. He's the one that's logged in. He should only be seeing his own data. So if we change this number and it's somebody else's data, that's a fail. Okay? So that's the premise of this. Writing the prompt, you're going to have at the very top of your prompt environmental setup. Then you're going to go in through a loop. We've only got 4 records to go through. We go through that. And we basically determine what a pass is and what a fail is. Pass is going to be if the authenticated user is only seeing their own data. A fail is if they see somebody else's. So we copy that. We paste it into Postbot. And we look at the generated code. I'm not going to go through this. But believe me, it's there. This is the loop. Oh, that's basically we have 3 failed test cases since the username does not match the username returned in the response. And then the pass is at the very bottom. So that is an idea of how you could use Postbot from a defensive point of view. Right, let me go back. I've got like one more slide and then we can go drink. All right. So in summary, I hope that this was informative for some of you. Sometimes you're left with not knowing where to start when it comes to APIs. So maybe this will broaden your horizons, give you some new ideas. From a defender perspective, the Postbot is a great tool, especially if you incorporate OWASP test cases with it. And always be learning. So, any questions? Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes. Hello, John. Well, so I think it depends on how good they are at asking the questions. So, because you saw a lot of boilerplate stuff there, which it's something, you really need to start digging in, like knowing what to look for in order to get to a level where, but having said that, I mean, there's going to be new versions of the Chat GPT coming out, and they're going to get more advanced, and more people will be contributing to the Hive. So, sorry. Yes, sir. For the Postbot? Oh, the Chat GPT? You need a subscription. So that's a good question. So I bought the enterprise or the company one, and that you can say, I don't want you to train off of my questions. I can't speak to the basic. I'm sorry, I don't know. But yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Exactly. Which is so go with the enterprise, Sean. Or I mean Shane. Yep. Anybody else? Anybody at the top up there? No? Nobody? All right. Thank you all for your attention.